Good morning and welcome to our Monday morning meeting. We'll go ahead and get started. We've got our finance department.
Susie Moon, Finance Manager. Kathy's not able to be here today, so it's just going to be me, so be nice.
Okay.
Do we have the PowerPoint? Okay, so we changed up our presentation a little bit from the last time we were here. So we took a look at, obviously, we're always going to talk about the general fund. And then we looked at what's our largest special revenue fund and our largest enterprise fund. And we're going to start presenting County Road, which is our largest special revenue fund, and then our solid waste, which is our largest enterprise fund. So revenues currently through February for the general fund are about 6.4 million. We have about 15.3 million in expenses. County Road Fund has about 1.7 million in revenue through February and 2.7 million in expenses. Solid Waste has about 4.5 million in revenue and 3.6 million in expenses. And our next slide kind of dives into the revenue a little bit more. So revenues at a glance. So general fund, a large part of that is going to be our tax revenue. So currently we have about 1.9 million in sales tax that we've collected. Sales tax is collected on a 2-month lag. So what is revenue from December is received in February. So we're expecting a large portion of that 1.9 million to be accrued back to 2024. So we won't actually receive our first portion of sales tax related to 2025 until March.
I was just going to ask you, is there a point throughout the year where our deficit catches up to our balance?
I would like to say we would probably start seeing that in April once all the accruals have been done. Because currently it looks like we have revenue, but really it's going to be backed out. So I would say probably we'll start catching up maybe in April and see some true revenue numbers related to 2025.
Okay.
Another thing I wanted to mention, so property taxes, that's another large piece of revenue for the general fund. First half, property taxes aren't due until the end of April, so we'll start seeing those receipts probably in the next presentation, and then a large increase after that. So going down to solid waste, we do have, when you look at actuals for 2025 compared to 2024, it looks like there's a large increase between the 2 years. And the reason for that is the landfill makes a quarterly rent payment to the general fund. So in 2025, that payment was done in February of this year, and it was made in March in 2024. So when you're comparing February to February, that first quarter rent payment for 2024 is not in there. And then County Road Fund, so they have, backing up. So you can see solid waste has about 4.4 million in revenue. About 2.2 million of that is going to be accrued back to 2024. So you'll see that decrease in the next presentation.
What is the rent payment?
I'm not 100% sure what the rent payment is for. I can follow up with Sean and get a better understanding of that. My understanding currently is that the general fund is what bought or paid for the landfill when we took that over. And so they took on, I believe, that debt. So it's covering those costs. But I'll follow up with Sean and get back with you on that.
Okay. And we make that payment once a year.
It's quarterly. So it's
Quarterly.
1.875 every quarter. So expenses by fund, we are pretty consistent between 2025 so far and 2024. The only big increase is going to be related to services. So our internals, we have internal billings that go out related to IT, insurance, such as the risk department. So we did have some increases in those costs. So that's why our services line is a little, is about 7.8 million compared to 6.7 million in 2024. Outside of that, we're pretty in line with what we were spending through February of last year.
Can you go back to that, please? If we look at our county road total for 2025, that's a big difference from 2024.
400,000. So county road, they do have not only the IT charges, they do also have some billings related to finance and our operations. So we saw increases in that, in those charges, IT as well as risk.
Okay.
And that's going to be in that services line for county road as well.
So if we look at the total on county road for the 2025 budget, we've got 50,000 or 50 million. And then for 2024, we have 33. Did we increase that budget that much?
So, so we are anticipating some projects. So we initially, in 2024, they had budgeted for some capital projects that ended up getting delayed. An example would be the Cloverdale project in Kalama. So those got adjusted out through budget amendment, and they are anticipating those projects
Okay.
starting in 2025.
So they got rolled over into 2025 and increased it. Okay. Okay, got it.
So our next slide shows property taxes collected through February. I don't really have a whole lot to share on the property taxes. It's pretty consistent. Again, we'll start seeing more revenue related to that near the end of February and then into April.
I know we've said this before, but do we know what percentage of property taxes we actually collect compared to the outstanding?
I don't. I can look into that.
Why would that be such a drastic change from 2024 to 2025? Is that, oh, because we're only 3 months into 2025? No, that doesn't work. Ending balance.
So I believe what this table shows is your ending balance is what is left to be collected for that year. So
Okay.
you'll almost always see balances for prior years, just delinquent taxes and stuff like that. So we have collected almost everything for 2024, and we haven't yet really started collecting 2025 since the first half's not due till the end of April.
So could we deduct that beginning 2025, we've got a $20 million balance. And if we look at 2024, there's 323,000. We didn't collect that 323,000 from
I believe
2024.
so. Mm-hmm.
So that kind of tells me what percentage we're looking at there then. Okay.
Okay.
So this is sales tax by month, so you can see our collections for sales tax for all of 2024. We did do a budget amendment to bring the budgeted figure down to the 11.4 million. Our original budget for 2024 was 11.9 million. So with our adjusted budget, we did exceed our target by about 1%. So in total through December, we collected 11.5 million in sales tax. So recording fee transactions through February, it's been pretty consistent. We're down slightly from January of about, or we're down slightly when compared to 2023. It's about 2% just for transactions.
And there's no lag in these numbers?
Huh?
There's no lag in these numbers? These are real time?
Mm-hmm. So this slide just shows the revenue brought in from those transactions. So you can see 2024 and 2025 are pretty consistent. For February, it's roughly $1,000 difference. And then in January, we were up 11% when compared to 2024. So that wraps up our finance presentation. We do have one for the museum.
Okay.
So for the museum, it looks a little different. We don't budget revenues for the museum. They're supplemented by the general fund. So we only budget expenses for this fund. So you'll see that our services look like we've almost eaten up the entire budget. And the reason for that is those internal service billings that I mentioned in the last presentation, they are applicable to this fund as well. So 35,000 of the 37,000 are those internal service billings, which happen just once a year. So we should start seeing the increase in that line item be much smaller from month to month. And then we do have Joe here from the museum to talk about operations.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to take a moment to share a few of the recent activities at the museum, if you have a few minutes to indulge me.
You bet.
We have a PowerPoint that'll give you some illustration. You may have seen a couple of the slides from it before when we met in January, but we'll go ahead and slide through the presentation here. Just want to remind you that the museum is open from Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., although I'm typically there on Mondays to Fridays, so you can reach us basically 6 days a week. There'll be somebody usually available at the museum, although the doors are locked outside of business hours. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. This is the slide that I believe I shared with both of you when we first met in January, just to kind of explain the relationship between the Cowlitz County Historical Society, which is the partner with the county in the operations of the museum. And often it's pretty close to about a 50-50 ratio of split. The last calculation I did, the society provided about 55% of the funding for the operations, but sometimes it gets closer to 50-50. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. Just wanted to share, we have wonderful exhibits there. I think our museum is a great piece of pride for our county and our community, given that we're a little over 110,000 people in a county that has generally a smaller population in a lot of rural areas. We have award-winning exhibits that were produced by a professional exhibit contractor. This exhibit opened in 2016. And we still get compliments on it. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Here's another image of these exhibits inside the museum, which has also free admission to the public. We'll go ahead to the next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a quiz. This is on display in the museum, part of our permanent exhibits. And you don't have to give me the answer right now because we'll go to one more slide in between. But I was wondering if these pieces remind you of anything, and if you have any ideas what they might come from. I'll give you a moment to think about it while I go to the next slide, and then I'll give you the answer. Or you go ahead and guess right now, actually. Let's go ahead and play the guessing game right now.
Part of a steam train or something, a steam engine. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, it's part of a steam locomotive. It's the Ant, which was the first logging locomotive to operate in Washington Territory. It was part of the B.F. Brock logging operations out of Eufaula, outside by Coal Creek. He purchased the Ant in 1883, and it was brought up here from the San Francisco Bay Area. It was supposed to work in the mud flats in San Francisco, but ended up with a logging railroad fate up here. I'm finishing up a book on logging railroads of Southwest Washington for Arcadia Publishing, and I've been kind of up to my eyeballs in logging railroads lately. So I thought I'd share this little quiz with you. But that's all that remains of the Ant, those pieces, because in 1940, before World War II, it was scrapped for a metal drive, and a lot of these old railroads were parted out and recycled. We'll go ahead to the next one, please. We have rotating and loaned exhibits in our temporary gallery. One of our former exhibits is actually at the Youth Services Building, and our exhibits, when they come down, are available to any municipality or public space where people can enjoy them. And so if you go to Youth Services, you'll see one of our retired exhibits there. Next slide, please. Our current temporary exhibit is Browsing the Stacks, which is kind of a walk through Washington State history. It's sort of a selection of different stories throughout the state. And fortunately, we have such an extensive archive collection that we have pieces in our collection that can help enhance these stories. We have about 37,000 artifacts in our collection. So this was produced by the Secretary of State's office, and it's on display at the Secretary of State's office in this picture right here. And it goes up for about a year, and then it goes on loan to any museum or library or public use space to anybody who wants it for free. And so we have this exhibit that we put up in January, and it'll be up until around Thanksgiving. If you go to the next slide, there's a couple more pictures of this exhibit. This is how it is in our temporary gallery, with the vitrines and pedestals in the center, having the artifacts that we pulled from our collection to augment the exhibit. We can go to the next slide too. This one's kind of neat too. It's a bomb shelter model from the 1960s. We got a whole bunch of them that were made locally and were part of the whole civil defense program. And part of this exhibit does have a civil defense component. And obviously you can see on the other slide, we have some pieces from the 1962 World's Fair on display. Next slide, please. There's some snowshoes from our collection, and then the intro to the exhibit on the right. Next slide, please. Okay, this is exciting because we just had the annual spring art show with the Columbian Artists Association. They had their reception this recent Saturday at the museum. These are pictures from it. And the last 4 years we've partnered with them. We will give them the space to have the art exhibit. The art is all local artists and it's for sale, and the proceeds, portion of them help the museum out. They go to the Historical Society. It's open for about 3 to 4 weeks, and it brings in a new audience into the museum. We've had new members to our Historical Society because of it. And I wanted to bring a little bit of show and tell here, these are called 6x6 paintings that are on one of the walls. And so they're only $35. And again, it's a way you can have a piece of art made by local artists for a relatively affordable price. We have, of course, larger pieces available. There's a lot of two-dimensional art in this exhibit, but this year we have a lot of three-dimensional. We have some glass art, some pottery. This art show, I'd say, has grown by 30% over last year. And I encourage you to come down and take a look at it if you get a chance to. It's open during our normal business hours. And the Columbia Artists Association has a volunteer there that kind of docents that gallery space. And so it's been a really good partnership the last 4 years. Next slide, please. And then I guess this is the end of the show here is I wanted to share also that our education programs are continuing. This spring is a very busy time. Danielle Robbins is our education program person. She's in this photo here in front of a classroom. We have a traveling trunk program that goes to local schools. We provide a local history education to supplement the curriculum, primarily second grade through fourth grade, although we do have junior high and high school programs available and senior programs as well. And I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Joe, you guys do that for schools throughout the county, not just in Longview and Kelso, right?
Yes, we go throughout the county, and then if there's a request, once in a while we get a request from outside the county, we will then charge for travel expenses to go there. Once in a while we get a request down in Clark County, but yeah, we go throughout the county and we don't charge for this service to provide these education programs.
Good. Thank you for that.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
All
I
right,
think we're good. Thank
all
you.
right, thank you, commissioners. Have a great day and have a good week.
You too, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to citizen comments at this time, if there's anybody who'd like to comment on anything. No? Okay. We don't have any executive sessions scheduled right now, so we will go ahead and, is our next one at 10? Okay, we will go ahead and recess till 10 o'clock.
Right.
Can the treasurer
No.
go over that and stamp it as approved? Or do they?
I can't imagine they'd be stupid enough,
I mean,
executive
that's-
director, to
yeah.
take it to the state, and say, please approve this, when our
Yeah.
commissioners voted it down.
I mean, they can't, you can't do that.
Well, I wouldn't think so.
They said they can't.
They've got listed in there from the state.
They give us the consensus on what they address.
And if.
The port, it's totally up to the
I
port.
would got dead right there.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
And with the 10 items, you say that treasurer's report. I would think they have to address those before they.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I don't understand everything that's written.
Yeah, I guess we're
Tonight.
back. I think, Mr. Wallen's here just in case we had any questions on the proclamation. I think we've already kind of approved that
Yeah, as
one for,
far as I know, we did.
yeah.
It was approved, but you're gonna talk about fair housing, weren't you?
Oh,
Your mic's not on.
Lower Columbia Association of Realtors. Thanks for having me. Just touching base on tomorrow's Fair Housing Proclamation. Thank you so much for putting that on the schedule. It's important annually. We recognize the importance of fair housing. We share that with our community, acknowledge the importance of that law, and kind of bring awareness to the community. So thank you for putting on that on schedule. I'll plan to be here myself tomorrow, talk briefly on that as well, but appreciate you scheduling that tomorrow.
sure.
Happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, hey, today. I've been on jury duty the last 2 weeks. This is the first time I got called in for Monday, and we just filled out a questionnaire today was all it was. Everybody's, unless they notify us later this afternoon, everybody's to report at 8:30 tomorrow, so it's possible I may not be here. We'll see.
Lucky you.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of people over there. I don't know what you covered. Did you have I saw we had you saw the letter. I think I made sure you got forward the stuff from Steve Taylor from PUD. Asking us for a letter of support for that project out there. I've talked to Castle Rock. They'd be happy to have that project out there, so I don't see any local issues. Are you guys okay with doing that for them?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I saw it was in our mail today from the Learning Center. They gave us a sample letter to help them on that again.
Yeah,
We good with that?
yeah.
Okay. You saw, and you guys have probably already talked about this, but you probably saw the stuff from the state of Washington the treasurers that sent the packet down as to what was submitted on the
Or the
TIF.
response to the TIA.
Yeah,
We didn't
Yeah,
talk about it.
I just finished reading it cover to cover this morning,
yeah, and
and like,
we had wanted an appointment to go up and see them. They really don't want us. They're willing to call us, but they're basically passed the message on that. They don't really
I
have any
really wanna
control
make-
of this thing, yeah.
in the information from the port, they're pushing the fact that they are communicating and working with all of the affected jurisdictions. And after our Wednesday meeting, which they did not show up at, I was on a conversation with one of the PUD commissioners who was at Wednesday's Longview Kelso Chamber of Commerce meeting. And the Port of Woodland, including the executive director and her staff, did a presentation at the Chamber of Commerce meeting for luncheon and explained the whole thing. And they were done at like 1:30, 1:40. They were done. And they could have come right over here for our 2:30 meeting, and they didn't come here. And number two, when I talked to that PUD commissioner, and we talked about what was our position on this thing, how we see it going down, he was totally stunned because the presentation that was done at the Chamber of Commerce, excuse me, meeting said that everybody's on board, all this is such a wonderful, great thing, it's not gonna affect the county, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Painted such a pretty picture that when I told him what we saw for the problems with it, he was totally flabbergasted with it. He said, absolutely couldn't hardly believe what I was telling him.
And I might add, those aren't our numbers.
I know it.
Those are their numbers.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, it's actually flabbergasting to me, the miscommunication that's going on, that the port commissioners don't know what it's actually, what the numbers are and what they're putting out there and what they're saying. I'm gonna try and meet with the port commissioner this week before our risk pool conference, to talk about it. He reached out to me after last week and when I was sick and I said I couldn't, but, when I talked to another port commissioner, they had no idea that that's what was, when I asked them the question with regards to the numbers in the packets that we saw. And I don't understand that. I'm really trying to figure out how there's a disconnect between the port administration and the commissioners not on the same page.
I met with that port commissioner after you did.
Yeah.
And I three-hole punched my 77-page report that we had that Kathy gave us that was earmarked. And I put it in a nice 3-ring binder to take it with me specifically to talk to him about the issues in there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I showed it to him, he went, "What is that?" I said, "That's your 77-page report for the TI." He said, "I've never seen it." I gave him my copy in exchange for a 5-page letter write-up that he had that specifically was the consultants had written up responses to Rick's previous comments to counter what Rick was saying at the public meetings where he was going, to say all these things that Rick was saying are wrong. And I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. Here's a port commissioner, hasn't even seen the 77-page report that his staff has submitted to the treasurer's office.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. And also that second port commissioner is asked to talk to me also. And I told him that we'd have to wait till after we got through a couple of things. But the other thing, a point that I made, I went to their port meeting last week with Rick was there. And I stood up and made a comment to them and told them that I was tired of hearing how this was not going to affect the county, that we were not impacted by it. And so I told them, I said, why don't you please go to your employees, tell them you're going to freeze their wages for the next 25 years, and then say, oh, by the way, you're not losing nothing, and see what kind of response you get. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
I thought, I've used, since you said that, I've used that analogy a couple times. I thought it was a good
Yeah.
analogy. It's 25-year deal, and the businesses that I know that are coming in, they're not, it doesn't matter if they have a TIF or not, they're coming in.
Mhm.
It's not like it's generating stuff. Business makes decisions based on if they can get a profit on it and it works for them. That's what they make decisions on. I mean, you guys have been involved with businesses. Your dad had one for
Yeah.
ever, so.
Reading that response from the treasurer's office, I gotta believe they've got some serious work to do to address those, I think it's 10 items that are listed for them to fix or try to fix in that proposal. And I can't see them being able to pull that information together. So much of it is pure speculation. Oh my goodness, this is, again, this is that the economy is going to grow, and there's never going to be a downturn in the next 25 years. Well,
Yeah.
God, I can point to 2 in the last 20 years for Christ.
I know. And we've all been around long enough, even our youngest commissioner has been around long enough to know that projections usually on the bad side are probably conservative, and on the good side are probably
Yeah.
exaggerated.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's just been experience over the years. So So I think the 30 million that they say will cost the county is probably,
Conservative.
is conservative.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that when I looked at those numbers originally and when Sean and I sat down and talked about it, it's one of those deals where when you're building a model, you can make the model say whatever you want. You know, you set the parameters, garbage in, garbage out. And I'm not saying that the numbers that they put in are garbage. I'm just saying that you can set the parameters to the model to have it show whatever you want. And there's a lot of numbers that are in there that are, I don't want to say speculative, but there's some assumptions that are made that are pretty, you know,
Yeah.
aggressive, I guess would be the right word.
I would agree with you. If you're a consulting firm and you're asked to help them put this together and you get paid for doing that, there's a lot of pressure to, and I'm not saying they didn't just follow just right along the lines, but there's a lot of pressure to make it look right because you're being paid to make it look right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it should be very concerning to anybody looking at that. The one key thing I picked up out of that is the fact that they intend to borrow right up to 100% of every penny they can get for the whole 25-year period. They're not leaving themselves any room for an emergency or something that they might need money for. They're gonna keep their debt limit right at the top all the way through that 25 years. That ought to scare the hell out of anybody who's looking at being in a position of running the port.
I was in banking a lot of years and went through an era where it was be leveraged, be leveraged, be leveraged. That's how you grow. And then when things went downturn, I saw all these leveraged people go out,
Mhm.
out of business, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and I think
So
that's
I'm
one
always
of,
cautious of leverage.
and that's one of the reasons I think that the numbers in the TIF are what they are, because I think well, I know that the port, they're maxed out, they're leveraged out right now.
Right.
And that's why they're looking at this as a way to generate those funds so that they can move forward with the project. But I mean, if you're just looking at straight financials on paper, the fact that you're maxed out all the time is not good.
No.
It's not a,
Plus, it's like the example you gave, if somebody comes into the bank and wants money and they're already maxed out on 2 credit cards, you're gonna give them a third one?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
And, and I don't know how your conversations went with, Mr. Wiley, but he was his big concern was one road. He
Right.
wanted this one
Yeah.
road. And, you know, I came back and I sat down with Kathy and that project would fit within, the rural facilities district funding.
Yeah.
And they know about it because she gave me a top 10 of entities that we've granted to and we've granted them like 4.7 million. The highest one was, Port of Longview was 5.5, and I think that was a multi-year project. So that funding is available,
yeah.
for that particular, it's just, the rural, development funding is project specific. It's not global. So they'd have to say, this is a project we want to do, but I got the impression that was their main project that they,
The road
Want
that
it
cuts
done.
through,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I
it's
did too.
Rose, I think it was Roseway, and there's also that, a connection that crossed a section that those 2 roads are in the connectors that they wanted to get in there are in the plan.
Yeah.
And he took me around and, when I toured the port with him, he took me around, showed me both ends of Roseway and how to, you know, what they wanted to get done there. And then that connecting road for, I can't remember the name of the road, Gould.
Could be.
Anyway, I can see where, yeah, it would benefit them, but they've got, as he pointed out to me, there's several properties that they've sold to private enterprise that have been sitting there for years undeveloped. And obviously, if the land has been sold to them and the private enterprise is sitting on it and hasn't developed it, obviously they don't see the potential for the business there that the Port of Woodland sees.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's, you know, hopes and dreams, rainbows and unicorns. I can understand why, you know, they're all looking at smelling the roses, but my goodness gracious.
Yeah. And I think we're all in agreement. We're not willing to bind the county. I'm not willing to bind the fire department in the city of Woodland for 25 years
Oh,
based on rainbows and unicorns.
yeah, exactly.
Well, to your point, Mr. Chair, I don't know that if those rural funds are available to them, and the main, I got the same impression, the main goal is that cut through road.
Yeah.
And the urgency is that they've got permission, that they've made arrangements and agreements with those landowners to give them the right of way to be able to do it. But if those other funds are available to them, just make that the project as opposed to this, to all 5,000 acres.
Yeah.
You know, just, I don't want to say piecemeal it together, but prioritize what you want done. And if those funds are available for us to help cut that road through, I would say, let's work on getting that done and then put the rest of the stuff on the back burner.
Yeah,
But we're not.
I totally
commissioners
agree.
making that decision.
totally agree. I think I don't sit in their meetings, but I think they approach this from the wrong way.
Yeah, instead of inching their way forward on positive ground, they're looking at trying to jump over the canyon and build the bridge later.
Yeah. You got something for me? Okay, is anybody from HR wanna? So, Dave? Yeah, executive session, Jessica's out, but if you're okay doing it, we can do that for you. For executive session for. Oh, okay. What, come on up then. Yeah, why don't we take that? And I just over at your place today with, sitting in with the jury people. Big crowd. Yeah.
Dave Handy with the Sheriff's Office, coming before the board to request, I guess the term be overhiring. We're not requesting any more money or anything from the board as far as authorization for extra finances. So to the new members here that might not be familiar with our hiring process, if I could take a couple minutes to explain that. We use a website, as most agencies do in Washington and several in Oregon, called publicsafetytesting.com. So in the old days, people would go take a written test and a physical test at each department. But this website allows them to take one test and they basically can shotgun out their application to multiple departments. So it's a very competitive process for us to be able to get the most qualified applicants because everybody's looking for people out of this limited pool. So how it works is usually I'll send in about 40 invites to people that come take our oral board. Usually get about 10 to 12 out of that 35 to 40. Probably, if we're lucky, we get maybe 6 people that would meet our criteria. And we just had an oral board on the early part of, or January 22nd. And out of that, we had 4 people pass and 3 went with other agencies. So these people are only available a little for a very specific period of time. And then they get snapped up by all these agencies. So we have a retirement coming up in June, a confirmed one, and another one most likely. So we're asking permission we're going to run an oral board in April to actually hire folks before these other folks are off property. Because we have an academy coming up in July and we like to get folks in that. And these academies are 5 months long. So if we can do that before the academy, it'd be a big benefit to our office.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at about a year before somebody walks on property till they're actually out in the field solo. So basically the ask would be hire at least 1, possibly 2, while we still have these other people on the books, but we should be able to do it through salary savings and budgetary savings, so we're not asking for any financial compensation.
Okay. So we're just trying to get ahead of the game and it's not gonna affect your budget. You guys got that all figured out?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that, Dave.
Me neither.
I don't
I
think
don't
anybody
either.
does,
I'm good
yeah.
with it.
I'm
Okay.
glad you're being proactive.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You too.
Joseph, I'm sorry I missed Joseph. I always like Joseph with the museum. I think
Yeah.
he does a great job down
He
there.
does.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are they doing? Did he talk about, because we've tried to make it so he didn't have so many people loitering or spending the nights there and causing problems? Is it,
He didn't bring that up really.
okay, so it must be working better for him
Yeah.
then. Good.
I know he said that we added lights and that made a big difference when I met with him.
Yeah.
Lights made a big difference. And that they've just been diligent about having people move along. And I don't think when I talked to him, there wasn't an issue really.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, having the security make routine trips through there and making sure
Yeah.
it stays pretty much clear. And then the lights was a big thing that he was really happy about.
Yeah. Well, the last board struggled with it because we were willing to put a fence, but it didn't really want to, none of us wanted to put a big fence
Yeah.
around the place. So it's good to hear it's working a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple minutes. You want to recess till 10 and
Sure.
Yep.
grab me a cup of coffee and stuff. She is loud. Okay, we're back. Going through agenda work, review. Is it your day tomorrow? Pretty much?
Pretty much. It's my
Okay.
day tomorrow. Good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. Public Works has two items. We put them both on the consent agenda because I won't physically be here. I will be online. I will be attending a engineering conference, so I will step out to get online with these. But our first item, yes, I printed them out big, so I don't even need my glasses today, is Garlock Road, Delameter Creek Fish Passage Project, the call for the construction bids. This project is funded by the Brian Abbott Fishberry Removal Board at 85% funding. The engineering estimate for the project is just at $2 million. It will open up over to about 2.5 miles of habitat. We are planning on closing Garlock Road during construction. It is a short, you just go out one end or the other versus being able to drive all the way through Garlock.
So people will still have access. It's just a little different.
Correct.
It's not like Ostrander, I think we built another.
We built a bypass bridge, yes. No, we're just closing the road for the duration of the project. People who live next to the project, just instead of being able to take whatever end of the road, they'll have to go out on either
What's the
end.
estimated duration of the closure?
That is a good question. Let me see if I have it written down. I do not have it written down, but I can find that information for you by tomorrow. Have the engineer send it to me. I believe it is somewhere between, it's probably 60 days. Would be, if you have to make a guess, I'd say it was between 60 and 80 days. I don't remember what the duration of the project is.
Okay.
You're kind of limited by the fish window anyway, right?
Yes, you're limited by the fish window for all your in-water work. So it all centers around that. And this is an arch, so it's excavate down, put your foundations in, then you put your stream channel in and you set your arch and you fill back up behind it. And once you have your arch in and you've started backfilling, you can release your stream diversion, but it'll take a little longer to get it fully backfilled and then the asphalt placed.
What's the thickness of the steel they use on that, do you know?
No, I don't, not off the top of my head. They're about this thick,
Okay,
this thick. I don't know what they.
stainless steel by chance?
I believe it's galvanized. I don't know. We'll have to go back to the bid item that we awarded last week. The specifications are on that steel. So
What's the life expectancy on these new?
a 75. Steel thickness.
I'll be interested. I think we have wildlife coming in April for one of the meetings. And we've talked a lot about, we do a lot of this fish barrier removal. I'd like to see if they have some results that show that it's doing.
Yeah,
You think,
that's
am I
optimistic
dreaming
on
there?
your
I,
Am I getting into the unicorns again?
Uh-huh.
well, let's see, what's that saying? Statistics never lie, but statisticians often do.
Yeah.
So there are grants that require you to monitor and count fish after you replace them.
Are there?
Fortunately, we haven't had one of those yet.
Okay.
They do that.
After you replace them?
After you replace it,
So you got no count before?
well, a lot of them want you to count before and then they have you count after. The Eric Creek project, which we're in the process of closing out, which I honestly thought they were crazy saying that fish would go up that. As soon as they removed the fish blockage, they had fish going up that creek. It was crazy, full-size salmon going up that creek. They were telling me like 2 days after they opened the passage, they already had salmon going up the little creek.
What creek are we talking about?
So Eric Creek, which is off of Abernathy Creek.
Yeah.
So we replaced the culvert that went under the road, and within a couple days, they already had fish going up the stream.
Is that the one where the sea lion got up into?
No,
Or
that's
Am I
this,
thinking something else?
that's the Garlock one.
Garlock is where the sea
Yes.
lion got into?
A sea lion got clear up into Garlock?
Yeah, they found it on Garlock Road.
Yeah, it was on the road. I remember seeing.
Yeah, a
pictures.
few years ago.
Yeah.
The sheriff had to go out and, because somebody found it on the road, and it was blocking the road.
Alive and well?
Yeah.
Yeah, just sunning itself, enjoying the,
Hanging out on the road.
Okay.
they follow the fish, apparently.
Yeah, that
They
they
do.
do. Unfortunately.
Yeah, interesting.
They should have a seal barrier at the mouth of the Columbia.
No kidding, right? I had smelt must be working their way up because I actually had a complaint from somebody that lives down by Willow Grove in that area, Willow Point or something, the noise of the sea lions.
Oh,
I was at Turwa on Thursday of last week, and I could hear them.
You could hear them.
Yes.
It must be an early salmon run. There's no way they're smelt this late.
I
I
wouldn't
don't
think
believe-
so,
I
but
don't
they're
believe-
up there for something. Yeah,
We're,
Maybe
if they're
just
not
that.
complaining about the seagulls, it's not smelt.
yeah. Yeah, true.
well, the springers are starting to come in. to the
Yeah.
Columbia.
I saw a bunch of boats actually this morning coming up Ocean Beach Highway. I saw several boats I passed headed down to the boat launch.
Yeah, they're coming in. And the seals usually do follow the springers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably what it is then, yeah. Yep. What else you got?
I have a consultant agreement for the Delameter Road Culvert Replacement Project with PBS Engineering. This project is also a fish berry removal. There are two large box culverts on Delameter that are reaching the end of life. They're undersized for the 100-year flow, and they are the next two blockages up Delameter Creek beyond actually the Garlock project. So this is the engineering design for $843,071. It's an estimated almost $7 million project when completed. It's 100% funded by Protect money. So this was our negotiation. We negotiated with PBS. We negotiated them down to this price. So we feel that this is a good cost for the two new commissioners. The way we select our engineers is we go out for a request for qualifications. For engineers and architects, you cannot ask the cost up front. Same with surveyors. It's in state law. You review their statement of qualifications, and in this case, we then did interviews with, can't remember if this one was 3 or 4. We were doing 2 at the same time. Interviews with 3 or 4 of the top consultants that submitted, and based on their statement of qualifications and their interview, we felt PBS was the most qualified to do this particular project. So then we entered into negotiations for the contract. This is a WashDOT contract, so there are requirements that we use their contract, and there's some disadvantaged business enterprise qualifications that were included. And they're using an outside, I believe, I've got 2 floating in my head, so I'll have to check. I believe they're using a geotech, that's a disadvantaged business, to do their drilling and their foundation report. I'll check who's the DBE.
Just for my, kind of where it's at on Delameter, how far up?
4.1 and, did I write him down? I think it's 4.1 and 4.4, milepost 4.1 and 4.4.
So kind of where it kind of comes down.
Yes.
Makes that dip down and back up right in there.
Yeah, so you hit one and then there's another stretch and you hit the other one. And it's where the creek comes, it crosses over and then comes back.
Right. Okay.
You use the term fish barrier and blockage. Is there currently a blockage on these culverts?
So these culverts are considered partial blockages.
Just by the nature of them being culverts or because there's actually stuff in?
So it's because they don't meet the fish barrier sizes with the low flow channel. So what happens, these are big boxes. So what happens in the summer, it runs through almost the entire width. So your flow is this deep, which is not good for the juvenile and the fry. So when we construct these new culverts, we do a simulated stream channel through them so that during the summer, instead of it having the whole area when it's only running up the low flow in the summer, there is an established channel that's much like your stream channel. So it's 4 or 5 feet wide, 10 feet wide, depending on the creek, with 2 to 1 side slopes. And it's deep enough to hold your summer flows so that the fish can move through the entire year. And then the volume above it is for your winter flows. So that it's a simulated stream channel that we build in these. The only locations you don't have to build a simulated stream channel is if you're on bedrock. So if you're sitting on bedrock, you don't have to do the simulated stream channel, but at locations like Delameter and Garlock, you build a simulated stream channel.
For the width of the road?
Yes, just for the road, and you'll generally go 20 to 100 feet beyond the ends to tie in the stream with the natural stream bed.
It's so crazy to me that we just give Mother Nature no credit. I mean, wow, crazy. But another thing, with regards to, oh gosh, dang it, I just lost it. Oh, the disadvantaged business. That's a requirement. And do you know what the definition of a disadvantaged business is?
I don't know the exact technical definition, but there is a list of registered disadvantaged business enterprises that is maintained by the state. Generally, they are minorities. Depending on which list you're on, it also can include women, but it's generally minorities or women, depending on the definition and what goals you're set. Depending on the cost of the project, will regulate the percentage that you have to comply with.
That's pretty offensive too, to automatically assume that because a woman's running a business, it's disadvantaged.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they don't fall under the full definition. They are only under certain definitions. Yes.
Okay.
No comment.
Yeah, I'm staying away from that one.
That's just crazy to me. I mean, to say that because someone's a minority, that they're at a disadvantage if they're running a business.
Yeah.
Doing pretty good.
I
That's just.
I agree.
So there are limits on the amount of business that they have in order to meet this classification. I know a woman who was a partner with a man that they were considered a WBE, which gives you certain status, and they were so good they worked themselves out of the status, and their business didn't suffer for it because they were so good. People still wanted to hire them. That was a landscape architect that I knew. So the purpose of the program does work sometimes, where they.
Well, I'm just concerned that as a county, we're hiring somebody because of their minority status or because of their gender and not because of their qualification.
Yes, and that part of who they're using as the DBE is taken into consideration when we're doing the review of their statements of qualification. There's a couple geotech firms and a couple streams, hydrology and hydraulics firms that will stimulate your streams and model them. Those are the two categories of firms that we see most often in the Public Works realm when we're doing these type of projects. So those are, both of those qualifications, they meet the qualifications, but they're also meet that status.
Okay.
That's all I have for you guys.
Oh, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you. We have no Jessica today. We have no HR stuff. Do we have anybody coming in for those or not? Yeah, maybe just. Cause we'll just adjourn if we don't have anybody coming in, but I don't wanna. Yeah. Neither one of them.
Nobody's going to be here that I'm here.
Okay. So I'm just trying to verify if we expect anybody to show up at 11, but it doesn't sound like there is. So we just want to adjourn till tomorrow. We should be good. Okay, we will adjourn. Thank you.